This chart tracks a highly unusual financial asset. Before 1986, an American buyer could purchase a legally registered machine gun for around $800. Today, that same piece of hardware trades for 5 to 6 figures on the secondary market. Americans don't just buy a single firearm for life, they collect millions of them every year. The scale of this movement is so vast that civilian spending on guns now surpasses what the U.S. military spends on its own troops. Unlike the stock market or traditional retail, this multi-billion-dollar economy operates largely in the dark. There are no standardized pricing aggregators, no public benchmarks, and manufacturers rarely release production data. For generations, the national conversation has focused on constitutional rights, leaving the business side of the industry largely obscured. Underneath the rhetoric sits a lucrative, unregulated shadow exchange. Every major publication, social media platform, and search engine bans gun advertisements. Credit card processors and point-of-sale systems frequently refuse to release transaction data, citing liability risks. With hard numbers unavailable, the market is driven by information arbitrage. The value of a model is dictated by internet rumors, niche forum discussions, and perceived scarcity. A firearm trades like a volatile stock. This Desert Eagle is impractical for self-defense or combat, yet its price climbs because it has become a legendary staple of modern action movies and video games. In this market, aesthetic hype is a primary driver of value. This leaves the local gun store owner operating like a blindfolded day trader. They must sink tens of thousands of dollars into inventory, relying on intuition and geopolitical whispers to predict what customers want to buy months in advance. Without financial transparency, profits flow to those mastering consumer psychology and leveraging insider intelligence. But perception is only one lever. The industry's most reliable method for generating profit is shaped by geopolitical supply manipulation. In the 1980s, the American retail market was flooded with cheap, imported rifles, like the Chinese AK-47. In 1989, the federal government suddenly banned these imports. Almost overnight, the rifles already sitting in civilian safes tripled in value. By cutting off foreign competition with executive action, President George H.W. Bush handed a windfall to domestic manufacturers. American buyers had no choice but to channel their spending back to Colt and NATO-allied gunmakers. 5 years later, President Bill Clinton signed the 1994 assault weapons ban. Instead of curbing ownership, the 10-year restriction conditioned the public to associate legislation with scarcity, sparking cycles of panic buying and permanent stockpiling. Federal gun control legislation has rarely diminished the size of the industry. Instead, the threat of restriction reliably functions to engineer scarcity and guarantee maximum profitability. This information vacuum protects manufacturers from accountability as effectively as it protects their margins. Take the Sig Sauer P320, a globally recognized handgun chosen as the standard issue sidearm for American forces. Soon after mass adoption, reports began to surface of the weapon discharging without a trigger pull, even while secured in a holster. One such malfunction killed an American soldier. The safety risk became significant enough that the United States Air Force issued an official suspension for all P320s. Instead of a mass recall, the manufacturer responded with a wall of denial. They insisted the handgun met all safety standards, a move designed to protect their brand prestige and wholesale volume. But the skepticism remained. Retail demand for the P320 cratered, and local store owners were left holding the bag, watching the value of their inventory plummet as customers avoided the brand entirely. Without consumer protections or transparent data, corporate liability is pushed down the supply chain, straight to the local retailer and the buyer. The financial habits of American citizens extend far beyond local storefronts. They have become a primary support pillar for the global defense industry. Allied defense contractors from Japan to South Korea maintain their production lines by catering to the American public. In these countries, the domestic military is often the only other customer, and exports to the U.S. provide the only path to real growth. Government military contracts provide a steady baseline of income, but procurement is slow and complex. The real money is in the American public. Beretta, Glock, and HK each reap 30 to 90% of their sales exclusively from U.S. civilians. Because these companies prioritize military pedigree, a battle half a world away instantly alters local commerce. If a rifle is filmed performing well, on a foreign battlefield, domestic demand for that model spikes immediately. The local American gun dealer is essentially an intelligence node, translating the mechanics of global warfare into localized cash flow. The American civilian gun market is an unregulated financial engine that effectively subsidizes the research and development of the global military-industrial complex. If the hardware of global conflict is funded by the retail habits of the American public, then the machines themselves are only half the story. A rifle is a one-time purchase, but it requires a constant stream of consumables to function. This raises a final, unresolved question. Who is quietly manipulating and profiting from the ammunition? The deepest, most lucrative mechanisms of the defense market remain exactly where the industry wants them, shrouded in the dark.